don't play the hits.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Musician's Musician. My name is Nick Costa, and today we have a wonderful chat with my old friend Ben Burwell, otherwise known as Turbo Pastel. I'm going to talk about Ben in a second, but before I get into that, I just wanted to drop a bit of big news. If you've been following for a bit, you might know that I've got an Indiegogo campaign for my new record, When the Lights Go Out, which comes out May 30th, and I'm happy to announce that I hit the goal. Thank you so much to everybody who grabbed a record, a CD, a t-shirt, or just donated some money towards it. It's huge. I can't believe I got to actually do that. And I'm just so excited to put this record out into the world in a way that I think it deserves to be put out. If you still haven't grabbed something and you're thinking about it, you should do it now. I made it so that the pre-order was a little bit cheaper for everything. So if you want to snag a deal, this is kind of the time to do it. I'll have a link in the description of the episode, or you can go to igg.me/at/WTLGO. Now let's talk about Ben, Turbo Pastel. I've known Ben for a long time. Our mutual pal and my former roommate, Chris O'Hall, introduced us when he was playing in Ben's old band, Taj Raj, TAGARAJ, in case you want to look that up. They were incredible. Over the years, I got to play all kinds of different instruments with Taj Raj and just on Ben's tunes in general. There was a point in time where I played guitar, keyboards, and lap steel in Taj Raj, even though I didn't really know how to play keyboards or lap steel. I just kind of figured it out on the spot in front of them. Jacob Pavic, who is another mutual friend and former member of Taj Raj, is an incredible piano player. He's played on pretty much all of my records. And he had to show me how to play a chord on piano for the songs that he played himself on the record. And I just kind of figured it out from there. We ended up doing like live radio sessions for The Current. We played big sold out shows all over the place. There was festivals involved. So yeah, it was no pressure. But once Taj Raj disbanded, I was thrilled to hear that Ben was writing new tunes, and this time they were very country influenced, he said. I remember he specifically told me he was going for like 90s country, like Randy Travis, Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, maybe like a little bit of Bonnie Raitt, I think he said. Just that whole vibe. And he asked me to play guitar on it, and I jumped at that opportunity. So now we have Wimpy's Wayside coming out on May 23rd, which is just 1 week away. There's 3 singles out from the record now. And the album still has Ben's incredible country songwriting, but with a really different and interesting approach to it. And we get into that pretty quickly. So yeah, with all that, let's just get into it.
Some credit to show you how talented you are. So long to chart stoppers, for some they're heart stoppers. They'll never get played at the ball. They're not making records for dancing after all.
There it is. All right.
Beautiful.
I am here with Turbo Pastel, or Ben Burwell. Ben, thank you for being a musician's musician.
I'm psyched to be here.
Yeah, I'm psyched to have you. We're going to talk about a really innovative and incredible artist, Feist. Before we do that, I know that you got a new EP coming out, Wimpy's Wayside.
That's right.
Let's talk about that a little. Oh, no way.
Yeah.
You got a hat.
Yeah. I had t-shirts and patches made. It was my wife, Jenny's, she went to art school, did a lot of graphic design. Sure. And I was like, you got to make, it needs to look like a gas station.
Yes.
So like she was doing more like tasteful versions of it, something that would look a bit cooler. And I was like, no, like somebody's brother went got halfway through the graphic design program and is doing it for this gas station. That's what I want it to look like. I want it to look like Speedway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I mean, like, yeah. So you've been kind of posting a GIF along with the singles on Instagram. Is that going to be the cover?
Yeah, so that's like there's like an evening shot of it, if you will.
Yeah.
And then the actual cover I haven't put up online yet, but it's beautiful. Colin Kopp is he's a photographer I worked with for a long time. I mean, you know him.
I do.
And yeah, videographer. He's amazing. But yeah, he shot it. But I built the model.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was my first, probably my last too, but yeah, it's on like a 3x3 sheet of plywood. And so there's a train. Have you been to the train store in St. Paul and Midway?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. It's right by what is now known as Midwestern Records.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Anyways, so I was a regular there for a couple months as I was putting it together.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was awesome.
I bet.
I would like to learn that there are like awesome subcultures that like you just have that you know nothing about. You like you don't know they're there. But you go and they're vibrant. There's tons of people who really care. I'll never forget. I was walking through the train store getting things for for the model for the record cover, and this woman walks up to me who worked there, and she's like, you have this size in this hand and this size model in this hand. And I was like, oh, like there's like HO scale and like some other stuff. Anyways, with like this look of like Simpsons comic book guy store contempt for what I was doing. And I understand, like, and I was like, oh, she's like, so you can't have both of those. It's like, oh, okay, I'll pick one.
All right.
But it was awesome. And they guided me through it and made it so it didn't look silly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, model train culture is, it's a real thing, but, Rod Stewart?
You didn't know that?
He's a train guy?
He's a huge model train guy.
This is the best part of my day already. I already know it.
Rod Stewart. Look, yeah, he's a huge model train guy. Okay. He's like a legend in that community. Anyways.
Rod Stewart. Yeah. We digress. But yeah, the reason why you were building the model was because of the theme of the record. Yeah. Which talk a little bit about that and give me a little bit of backstory there.
It was that the idea came years ago. My dad was a truck driver, and his main route was I-90 between, like, he surfed between Madison and Minneapolis all the time. So he was going on. Anyways, I don't know if it was a Loves or a Flying J or whatever, but there was a certain person at the gas station or at the truck stop that he was friendly with. And he took a bunch of notes about them, this idea of what their life might look like, and emailed them all to me and was like, you should write a song about this. And it was really compelling, but being the bad son that I am, I never did anything with it.
Sure.
But the idea got planted in my brain. And this was like probably 12 or 13 years ago. And then as you get older and you have kids, there's only so much writing about that stuff that you can do, you know, like you're making a lot of dinners and mowing the lawn and stuff.
Yes.
So the idea of the gas station kind of sprouted into this idea of just like, well, what, rather than just this one person behind the counter, but all of these people at this fictional gas station, what are they dealing with?
Yeah.
And then I came up on the idea of like just different, each song representing a different kind of like stage, if you will, of discontent. And how people manage their way through it. Yeah. And so fictional gas station with a bunch of fictional characters.
Well, I've gotten to listen to it, and it's a great record. Your songwriting is always, I think, incredible.
Thanks.
The sonic approach this round, though, is a bit of a different step for you.
Yeah, huge, way different.
It's got your songwriting style, but it's like a lot more
cheap sounding.
Positive connotation, right? Like it kind of like, it's got the like again, positive connotation, like kind of cheesy keyboards layered throughout. They're great though. Like, you know, but it has like that still like kind of classic country song vibe to it.
Like in the arrangement. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of like, I don't know, once you kind of realize like, oh, this is supposed to be this gas station in the middle of nowhere, and like it all kind of starts making sense. Like you're listening to it and you're kind of thinking like, if I was looking through the candy bar aisle, like I would imagine this kind of playing above, you know, like it makes sense. It puts you in that place, and I think it's
righteous.
Really cool.
That's the idea, is that it, like some buddy recently said, it sounds like something you'd buy for $5 at a gas station. And that, like, that's not an insult. That's exactly what I was going for. I can't remember who I heard this from, but it was something about what makes art worth listening to, is discovering or watching an artist work within their limitations, what they do inside of their limitations. Yeah. And that was a really attractive idea to me, is to really, so like, I don't know if this is a legend. Have you heard this? Maybe this isn't true, but I've believed it for a really long time, that in the early days of the White Stripes, they limited their recording gear and the instruments that they used to a certain time period or something like that. Yeah. Is that right?
For, I think it was like the most intentional for the record Elephant. Like nothing could be made after 1970.
Okay.
So like the microphones, the recording equipment, like the instruments that they used, like everything had to be from, you know, the 60s or 50s or 40s or like anything before 1970.
All right. So I didn't make that up.
No,
awesome.
That's
okay. Yeah.
No, that's real. And like Jack White even like went as far as to like, for live shows and stuff like that, like put his pedal board out of reach, so that like if he needed to do something, he had to put extra effort into doing it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so like every move has to be like so intentional. Yeah. And there's really something kind of incredible to that. Yeah. Like
like I know this from like work, like when you're approaching a problem, you only have the tools that you have. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just have to get the job done, and you like your job is to solve the problem with what you've got. Yeah. And like, so creativity just naturally comes from that process. Whereas like, not that there's anything wrong with this, the majority of the stuff I've done in the past, I didn't put any limitations on the people I'd work with or the gear I'd use or anything like that. I'd spend as much time as I possibly could. That's another thing about this record, is my second daughter was born in February, and I had to finish it by January 1st. I put that line on it. So it was like, there were nights when like I would get a guitar take that was like only 75% of the way there was the best one I could get. So I just lived with it. Sure. And like, I don't know, when I was young, like my favorite bands were like the Jerry's Kids and Gangrene and stuff like that. And I'm no stranger to listening to people mess up on records. Yeah. Like same. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times those are like my favorite parts of records. And even records like, you know, that aren't punk records or something like that. Like, there's a part in the record Fox Confessor Brings the Flood by Nico Case. Okay, yeah. Where like one of the guitars is kind of doing like this like bum 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 dun 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 dun, but it's like, but it speeds up and like goes way off. And it's like so obvious, like it sticks out like a sore thumb. And you would think that they would like scrap, like, oh, we got to do that again. But they left it in, and I love it. I love that for that. Or, it's perfect because there's, again, something human about it, as we were talking right before we started recording. How long has it been since you've listened to Why Can't We Be Friends by War? Probably. I mean, intentionally? Yeah. It's probably been over a decade, yeah. so the opening piano line on that song, it has a huge flub in it where he hits like a minor second. And it's definitely not intentional. It's one of the biggest songs ever made. It's a beautifully written song.
Yeah.
With this huge mistake right at the open. Or Wild Side by Motley Crue. Mick Mars, he can't play the song. He can't play that part fast enough. Like he can't keep up.
Right.
And so he's constantly behind the beat, but it's an incredible song.
Yeah, there's something great about it.
And then when he locks in, you're like, yeah, you got it.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
We were all struggling for the note at that point. We were all along for that journey.
We were just like, get there, Mick. Come on. Yeah. But so like accepting mistakes, working within the limitations. Like I didn't have the money to track drums. So I just used my old Roland rhythm arranger, which is a super one. It's a super one-dimensional drum machine. I love it, but I don't know when it was made. If I had to guess, I'd say the late 70s, but
I think so. Yeah.
Late 70s, early 80s. And so I just press play. And have you done what is it called? Submit Hub or Groover?
Oh, I'm in the process of Submit Hubbing.
Submit Hub's brutal, dude. I do not. It's so brutal.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
It's like, I don't want to tell you my approval rate. It's not good.
Oh, but nobody's is. This is the thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter how great your song is. Like, I think mine is like 11%.
Okay. Yeah. We're somewhere around there.
Right.
Yeah. And a big criticism I keep getting over and over and over again is because I tell them to be brutal. Like I put a type note. I'm like, just go for it. Like, just
you're so brave.
Just do it. Cause I want to get it. Also, it'd be fun to like clip that stuff and like to show people.
I actually
did that once.
I did that before, and now I just like before we started, I finished editing a different video where I like clipped all the negative things that people said, and I made a whole thing about it. Yeah.
And a big criticism I keep getting is the drum machine sounds cheap and it's super repetitive, and I'm like, I knew it was cheap, and I just pressed play. So yes, it is repetitive.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like also a lot of those people like kind of miss the point, frankly.
Yeah, it's so strange. You have no idea what people are looking for. Yeah, and it's also strange. Like nobody like, what is indie folk? What is it?
It just drives me nuts.
What is Americana?
Yeah,
like what nobody can tell you. Yeah. And so I mean, I had somebody tell me that the two songs that I released on Wimpy so far were too mainstream folk.
Yeah, I got a lot of it's too mainstream.
And I was like, but this record sounds so weird.
It's like so not mainstream. Like,
yeah.
You know?
It was recorded in a basement and it uses cheesy synths. You could make an argument that it's not folk. Like that'd be totally fair.
That's valid.
But like too, I don't even know what mainstream even means, but like too mainstream folk, like anyways. Yeah. I
mean,
I could go on.
I got, it's too mainstream. And I also got like, it's not mainstream enough because there's a large instrumental break. Like in my song Poppies, you know, from like, there's like a minute long orchestral piece in the middle of it. And like people really didn't like that. People were like, no, there needs to be more vocals there, but also it's too mainstream. It's just like, well, you gotta pick one. Yeah.
You know? This might be, the impression I get all the time is I'm just like, you just don't like it.
Yeah. Also they're getting paid.
Yeah, they're getting paid.
You know, so I don't know. We could go on and on about.
We could. I just give a shout out to any musician who listens to this who has a low approval rating on Submit Hub. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Out to you. You're not alone. Yeah,
we all have to do it. But anyway, let's get into the topic at hand here.
Yes,
Leslie Feist.
incredible songwriter, incredible musician. Do you remember the first time that you heard Feist?
I do. It was so. Anybody from Milwaukee would know this. There used to be a record store there called Atomic, right by. It was a tiny little spot right by the university, and they used to have these little end cap deals where it was just like a pillar with like a CD on all four sides and headphones, and you could say, "Well, I would go there for a couple hours, once every other week, and just listen to records." And Let It Die was on one of those. And I heard that. And at the time I was studying classical voice. So, and my main instructor was, he'd done a ton of French art songs. So he's kind of like indoctrinating me into that lineage. And, I was becoming familiar with like early 20th century, Debussy, Ravel, Satie, and things like that. And that's in her music. And so I think that's what got me right away.
Yeah.
And so, listen to Let It Die for a couple years. And then The Reminder came out, and that record, I think, come at me. Like, I think The Reminder is in the top 5 best records made in the last 25 years.
It's incredible.
It is flawless. Like from beginning to end, it is like, there isn't a miss on the record. There are ups and downs, but like,
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that was like the beginning for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hadn't spent the most time with The Reminder. And I'm not entirely sure why. I think it came out in a time where, like, funny enough to like go into like the what is indie folk thing, but like,
oh yeah, right.
But like there was a point in time where like if you were kind of into punk rock, there wasn't like a lot of like indie folk stuff that was like that seemed appealing at that point in my life. But I was like starting to kind of get into it. And then, but I remember, what was it? Was it I Feel It All? Yeah, I Feel It All was on like the iPod commercials or something like that.
Or no, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, wasn't it?
Was it 1, 2, 3, 4?
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think you might be right. It's one of those two because those are the two big hits.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember just being like, oh, I mean, the Apple person, like I'm
Apple,
right.
yeah, iPod
like,
song.
Yeah. But then, like a little while later, I heard Metals, and I was like, oh, okay. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, by the way.
Okay, right on.
But yeah, I heard the album Metals, which I have behind me there.
Yes.
And it like from song 1, I was like, oh, I was wrong. I was very, very wrong about this, and I need to like go back and revisit it.
Metals was such a badass move, like that she made, because the Reminder is I think it's the most pop and traditional that she ever has been in her entire career.
Sometimes.
Let It Die is very formal in all of its song structure, but it doesn't get as big. And other than Mushaboom, I don't know if there are like earwormy songs on that record like there are on The Reminder.
Sure.
And then The Reminder, she has the iPod thing, becomes like this gigantic Big Tent indie star.
Yep.
And then Metals comes out, and there are earworms in certain songs, but it's just kind of like this natural kind of like airy, like, I don't know. It's very, it kind of just grows and does its own thing. I mean, the song structures are kind of, I mean this in a great way, rambling, but I guess what I'm getting at is there's obviously would be a really natural temptation for any musician who hits those heights to be like, let's do it again.
Yeah. Right.
Let's keep going with this pop stuff. It really worked.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like, nah, I'm going to do this kind of, something different.
It feels like an expansion of kind of the more album tracks on The Reminder. Because like there are moments on The Reminder where like Sea Lion is like, it's wild. Like that's a wild song. And
have you heard the original?
No.
It's because Sea Lion is it's an interpolation of one of the most famous Nina Simone. It's a Nina Simone song.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah. There's the song is called Sea Line. Or Sea Line Girl, I think is what it's called.
Oh, Sea Line Woman.
Sea Line Woman. Yeah. Anyways, and if you listen to that, like this is probably sacrilege to a lot of people, but it's just the way I feel. I do prefer Sea Lion. It just has a little more forward momentum, and Nina Simone is unparalleled, but her vocal delivery is a little more casual, a little more conversational, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. What'd you say about Sea Lion?
No, I mean, you're not interrupting me. I'm having a conversation with you. So yeah. The Sea Lion it feels like I was listening to it and I was just like, okay, it makes sense that you would go from this album to Metals. And there's a lot of different moments, like, the first half of the record, or not the first half, but like the first three songs are like, kind of poppy tunes. You have I Feel It All right there. You have My Mood, My Man. But then I think once you hit the park, you're like, oh, okay. There's actually something else happening here.
Yeah. And the park is an awesome, so she's always done this. I love found sound in recordings. I don't know what it is. I must have just I don't know what record would have spurred that on for me, but there's something about using found sound. You hear people walking around like you can. I don't remember what song that is on, where you hear the heels on the floor.
Oh, that might be. Oh God, what is that? Is that I Feel It All, or is that 1, 2, 3, 4? But she recorded it with like a handheld tape recorder, and then they put mics because they recorded in this house in France. And I
didn't know that.
Yeah. There's a great documentary about this record. And like the live show that went along with it and everything like that. Like it was incredible. But they put like all these mics on the staircase, and she just kind of like walks down the stairs to the tempo that they were setting, holding this tape recorder. And then she walks into the room where the band is, and she's like setting the tempo as she's walking, and they just start playing, and they tracked it that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I should have known that. I should have done my homework. I didn't.
No, I mean, that's, I did it for us. So we're good. It's a group project. So yeah, no. And like, there's a lot of stuff like for the park, they were recording in like March in France in the countryside. So it was like cold, but she was like insistent. She was like, no, we need to do this outside. And so they had like a close-up mic on the guitar, close-up mic on her voice, and another mic just like maybe like 2 feet away from her. That was like kind of picking up the outside. They were like on this deck. Like even like the trumpet was playing along. There was like a melodica happening. But like those are the 3 mics for everything.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful, beautiful song. And yeah, you hear like stuff in the background. You hear like birds and people talking and
yeah. She has like a lot of those, like, I don't know, in my mind, I kind of think of it like sitting by the window songs. That's one of them that I have it written down. What were the other ones? Lonely off Let It Die is the same thing.
Sure.
and Cicadas and Gulls off Metals.
Yeah.
Like really, like where she goes to the, like this kind of like the smallest, most introspective version of herself. And it's like, it's supremely reflective. Like, and I don't think they're a found sound in all of those songs, but they have that kind of airy, wistful quality to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And they always seem to find their way into the middle of the record, which I think is such a good idea. Like just for album structure, I know a lot of people don't think that is being terribly important these days, but but to me it is.
Yeah, I mean,
where does Cicadas and Gulls happen?
Yeah,
towards the end.
But I agree. Like there's it's almost kind of like taking a break. Like you're kind of inside at this party, and then you kind of step out for air or something like that, and it's just kind of like puts you into a different place intentionally.
Right.
There's a song by a French band called The Dough.
I don't know The Dough.
Oh my! So they have a record called Both Ways Open Jaws. That's like one of my favorite records ever made. It's,
the Dough?
Yeah, it's the D-O, but it's like the O with the line through it.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, The Dough. And God, what is the name of the song? The album is Both Ways Open Jaws, but they literally just set the beat to a sprinkler. So like you kind of hear like these crickets, and then you hear this like, and then all of a sudden you kind of hear like a little beat come in.
Cool.
And it's like very like just outside, and they're just singing, and they're just like they just have the sprinkler be the drummer essentially for the beginning of this song.
That's cool.
It's so rad. Cool. It's so rad. But I love that kind of thing, you know? It's like every time I am in my car and I turn the blinker on, I'm like, that could be a tune.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of gets at that we were talking about earlier with like choosing a limitation, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, like it's obviously an appealing sound, a sprinkler going back and forth, right? It's nice and rhythmic, and it has kind of different sounds. But you're like choosing the foundation to build your song off of. And that's really great, because I mean, it is also super useful because you can easily, you know this as well as I do. You can easily just get lost in your guitar with, and be like, what does this thing stand on?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, walking down a staircase. What a cool thing to rest a song on top of. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that documentary, there's a moment with the guy who owns the house studio, and he refers to the whole house itself as an instrument. And I think that's like so cool to refer to like your studio itself as an instrument. Right. 'Cause that's true, right? It's like, there are musical instruments within it, but like the actual structure itself has a vibe. It's it's only going to sound like that place.
100%. Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's like, when I was in school for music, I don't remember what music theory class it was, but, the professor would knock on the door. What pitch is this? 'Cause it has a pitch.
Yeah.
Or listen to the radiator hum. That definitely has a pitch.
Yeah.
And right. Totally. Every space has its own vibrance. And like, you can hear that. So I didn't know that about the reminder that it was all recorded in a mansion in Paris, you said?
Yeah. Oh no, it's in France. I don't know.
It's somewhere in France.
We have the internet. We can look.
But that makes perfect sense because the record has like, I don't know, there's a timbre to the entire list.
Yeah.
Like what is it, 13 songs or something like that?
Yes, It is 13. Yep. But it really does. Like, it's a really consistent, like it just all flows so naturally. It feels like a very cohesive record altogether, even though there are there's moments where there are like, you know, those pop songs, like 1, 2, 3, 4 is track 9, which like
That's wild.
you're kind of into the record at that point. And like there's Sea Lion that already happens, which is like kind of a trippy, like weird song. It's great. It's like it's kind of a jam.
I feel it all is like a rock song,
right?
Almost, like it and how I feel it all, and something like probably my favorite song on the record, Brandy Alexander.
Oh God, that song's so good.
That song's insane. But how those two songs can sound like they should be on the same record is obviously a triumph. Yeah, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, dude, Brandy Alexander. Have you ever had a Brandy Alexander, the drink?
I am sure. I think it'd be weird if I did ice cream. Oh, I certainly have then. Yeah, no, I definitely have. Yeah, I had a moment with Brandy.
Oh, that's right. You don't drink.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah. But I got too good at it. Michael Jordan had to retire sometime too, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, somebody has to. Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Time to hang it up. Yeah, I just retired my number.
But yeah, Brandy Alexander is like, it's almost like Prine-esque in its like, it's offering such a precious angle with just the right amount of humor to like give it that immediacy. And I mean, Brandy Alexander always gets me into trouble. Like, I mean, obviously with the drink that's obvious, but then just imagining Brandy Alexander as being a human being, right? Yeah. There's something so nice, and again, kind of Prine-ish about that. Mm-hmm. That the charm is only the beginning, you know. Like you just get, and then when you work your way through the song, it flushes out to such a nicer, bigger picture about what she's going through. Yeah. But yeah, what a beautiful song.
It's a beautiful song.
Do you know the story about, I think it was Brandy Alexander on the set of Transformers?
No, like the song?
Yeah. So the actor, Shia LaBeouf was listening to it. And the director, I think, was it Michael Bay? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen a Transformers movie, FYI. Don't
only in hotel rooms, but yeah.
Or on an airplane. Yeah. But and they got into a huge fight about him blasting Brandy Alexander. That's all I know.
Of all the songs, because that's like such a delicate song too.
I know.
And so like, of all the songs to be argued over on a Transformers movie shoot, that song. So funny.
I know.
Oh God.
I know.
Well, I'm a little curious too, because I was kind of diving back into Feist. I kind of like picked up a thing here or two, but I wanted to know your, like, from you, is there something songwriting wise that you kind of took away from Feist, or like were inspired by at any point? Like, is there something where you're like, God, that's something that's cool. I wonder if there's something like that I could do.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think the biggest thing is kind of non-specific, and that would be like the spirit of irreverence that she kind of seems to carry throughout her career. Mm-hmm. There's like evidence by what we were talking about with Metals, like not capitalizing on the pop success of the Reminder. And then moving into Pleasure and her latest record, Multitudes. Yeah. There's like, I like, my dog is named after Lemmy from Motorhead, and sick. And I have and like, you know, Patty was always one of my favorite rock and roll icons, as is Prince. And like, I have a strong affinity for artists who really, it's really obvious they're just going to their own drum, that their success is just a natural consequence of their brilliance, that it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have to do with any effort on their part. And like, to what degree that's true is a mystery. But at least that's the spirit that you get. And so like, I've always picked up on that with her as just an artist generally. Yeah. And so that was a big reason. That was a big draw. How she isn't happy just hanging out in one genre, but has her own very distinct sound that can sing a song in French and like that is distinctly like sounds mid-century in a way, and then can do, you know, some like guitar driven, you know, like Kinks style stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But while doing that, all maintains this central identity that it is obviously still Feist. Yeah. And that is like, she has her aura, her scent, her color palette that just, she mixes it in different ways. So those were like, it was like appeal to me, like, in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like a really great example of like, if you create art for yourself, no matter what you do, it'll sound like you.
Right.
You know, as long as like that is like a true, like you're not trying to be something or like adhere to what you think you should be.
Right.
You can do whatever and it will always sound like you.
Right.
I think that's kind of amazing.
Oh yeah. Cause you can hear her influences like Vashti Bunyan or, to me, in prepping for this, I was like, I'd always heard Francois Hardy in her music, but I was like trying to find out if she'd ever mentioned Francois Hardy. I couldn't find any mention of Francois Hardy that she has made. Maybe she has. I don't know. But like, to me, at least, I can hear those influences. And we all stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So it's like, that's just you're always just taking your influences and then just pushing them through your own filter. And and that's, to me, that's like, she's just a pitch perfect example of that, where it's like, there are, you can definitely reach back and like get a good sense of like where she's drawing from, but what comes out the other end is a new thing, you know, and that's really cool. Cause it's also like, I have like I am somewhat small c conservative in that I do like when I feel that artists are connected to the past in some sense and that they're working with it. And that, you know, and building off of that, like there's like a way of kind of like honoring what came before you in that sense and kind of like carrying their legacy forward. Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that it's always kind of intentional, or do you think that like because it's the person showing their progression artistically, it will always hint to the past? I mean, I think the hint to the past is hard not to do. Right.
It's who you are.
It's who you are. Like, in what other frame of reference do you have other than what you've already been through? Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. So I suppose it'd be really hard for anybody to get away from that. You know what it might be? That she reaches a little further back. Interesting. Sure. Is that there's the influences come from maybe 2 or 3 generations ago. So that's just a purely subjective thing, because whether you're drawing your inspiration from your peers or a band that came 10 years ago is up to you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, for sure.
But maybe that's what appeals to me in my small C conservative. Like, I like the idea that there are artists like, are you familiar with Vashti Bunyan? Like,
you know, I had never heard of Vashti Bunyan until like last night.
Okay.
But like, it's weird that you brought it up, because like,
Yeah.
I don't remember how it came up, but something, I think it was when I was actually looking up, like doing research for this.
Sure.
And like, I was like, Vashti Bunyan, who's that? And then Charlie, my partner, was just like, oh yeah, no. Yeah. Like, do you like Vashti Bunyan? And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard. She's like, well, everybody likes Vashti Bunyan. Kind of like one of those. So I need to get into them. I don't know who they are.
Yeah. I mean, bringing her or making sure that record, her first record, doesn't get forgotten, I think is also a really good thing. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to download that right now, actually.
Yeah.
It's a good. How do you spell her name?
How do you spell it?
Oh, I got it.
You got it.
I got
Phonetically.
it.
Vashti.
Oh yeah, cool. From 1970.
Is that what it was? Yeah. I was going to say 69 or 68 or so.
Just another diamond day. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you're kind of thinking about, like older references and inspirations.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like personally I've been on that train a little bit more.
Yeah, like you are the Willie Nelson, like if there's ever a Willie Nelson library, you're going to be the ARC librarian there. Like
Willie Nelson, Randy Newman.
Yeah.
Big on Randy, or the Beatles. Like, I'm try throwing a Beatles fact at me that I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, no, totally. And you can hear it in your music too. Like just the classic, the very deliberate song structures. Like
sure.
That, like I love that. And the very narrative sense that you seem to, you don't do a lot of impressionism in your lyric writing. Not
typically, no.
Yeah.
It's not my vibe.
Yeah.
So much. It's not natural for me.
Yeah. Right.
Like I'm sure there's been times where I have, but like, yeah, I mean, kind of going back to the thing where it's like just being yourself. The songs that I always like that I've written that like I want to keep and put on a record and stand behind the most are always the ones that kind of like fall out. Mm-hmm. Where like I didn't have to fight it too much.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Sometimes there are ones where I'm like, I fought that thing and I fucking won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that fight.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. It was before my first daughter showed up. I had a music room, which is her room now. But I was fighting I have a song called Rose, and the chorus I think was a personal triumph. And I had the verses down, and I was just messing around with, just running one melody through my head over and over again. I had the words, but I didn't have the melody yet, and nothing was working. And everything I was coming up with was just, I don't know, it was either boring or too close to something that had been written before, and I just wasn't satisfied. And one day on the drive home from work, I felt like I almost like it was coming. Mm-hmm. And no one was home. Jenny was still at work, and I went into my music room, and we had this little love seat thing. And I don't even know how I got there, but I was in, what do they call it? Child's pose in yoga.
Sure.
Where you're like, you got your knees underneath you. And I had my hands on the back of my head and my elbows on the ground. kneeling down, and my head had somehow gotten underneath the love seat, and I was running melodies through my head because it was almost there. Mm-hmm. And Jenny got home and found me like that. And I was,
I'm writing.
I'm ready. It's like, I almost have this thing. I'm like, I can feel it. It's like, like waving my antenna in the air,
Mm-hmm.
Like I could feel I was getting really close, and I got it that night. But that would be an example of like fighting for something.
Yeah.
That's like you're just like, it's a battle.
That's so funny. Yeah. I mean, and I even have a couple songs that I've been like kicking around for years because like I love the melody so much. And I'm like, there's really something there, but I just haven't gotten the words right. It was kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I'm like, like one day there will be a phrase that stumbles out and it fits perfectly. And it's just like a puzzle piece that will be there.
Right.
And like when that day comes, I'll be so stoked. But like everything else, every time I've like tried to sit down and be like, all right, I'm going to write this thing. I do it and I'm like, it feels forced. Doesn't feel right.
Do you get stuck like this? Cause I do, where you have something like what you just said, like a favorite melody that you have been carrying with you for years, that you come to cherish it so much that that almost nothing's good enough for it. It's like your kid and you're like trying to wed it with some words. And it's like, this partner's not, you're too good for this partner.
Exactly.
I
have this beautiful melody and then I'm like pairing it with the stoner kid from down the street. No, I don't want that. That's not what it deserves. It deserves better than that. You're going to go to an Ivy League school. Your standards get too high. Yeah,
for
that's
sure. Happened to me a bunch.
That's certainly like, there's a batch of songs that I have where I'm like, they're fully written. They're just waiting for words. And like, I just can't get to what that will be.
Yeah.
It's probably like 5 songs now, I think, where like, I'm just still like stuff from like probably a decade ago.
Can you play all the way through these songs?
Yeah.
Wow.
Still. Like I'm the structure is there. Like that came to me in a way where I'm like, yes. And it's like almost always something like I'll like do the dishes or I'll be at work or I'll, kind of like be doing something a little mindless. And then like this melody will kind of pop into my head and I'll just kind of like follow that a little bit in my, like kind of get distracted. And then like it sticks. And when it sticks, that's when I'm like, okay, I gotta do something with that.
Yeah.
And like,
interesting.
90% of the time I feel like I finish that. Like I get that idea and I'm like, that's a song, a couple minutes later. But these ones, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
tough.
I'm also trying to be like, I got to write it before somebody else gets to it. Like I'm always,
dude, I have that fear all the time. All the time.
I always feel like it's like, it'll move on.
Yep. I have that fear I had that fear with the CP that's coming out, whether anybody likes it or not. Like it was exactly what I wanted to make. And I'm just glad that it's uploaded to Spotify and it's scheduled to come out because it's like the idea of like, oh, what if somebody else comes up with a fictional gas station and uses cheesy synths and steals my idea?
I don't know though. It could.
There are a lot of weirdos out there making cool stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, yeah. The like on the other hand of like reaching back, like I also think that like Feist was an incredibly important artist for the subsequent generation, like defining, like offering a color palette to use, a vocal timbre, a songwriting approach. And I much like if you didn't have, like, if you just think about popular indie music, like if you didn't have Bon Iver, you wouldn't have James Blake. If you didn't have James Blake, you wouldn't have like, I don't know, just there's a lineage, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty obvious. And I feel that with her too, like that there's, that she's one of those artists, kind of like Eddie Vedder. If it weren't for Eddie Vedder, there would be no Chad Kroeger or,
I was going to say,
or Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
Or Lifehouse.
There'd be a lot of jaw rock singing that wouldn't be happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think that Feist is one of those songwriters, you know, where she pushes like a lot of limits and is very, very much like her own songwriter. And so I think that there are people when you are that you like unique, but also kind of universally approachable as far as like consuming her music. It's kind of difficult to not be influential, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that gets to like a bigger songwriting principle in general. I mean, you're never going to fool anybody if you aren't doing exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like a Primary Colors Rick Rubin observation, right? It's not a very interesting idea, but it's very true.
It is
that like that like you know, to get real tender moment or precious moments about it, we are our own individual snowflake, if you will, you know, right? Like there's never been one, no one's ever had this same film that is your life, right? And so you do have something unique to offer. And I like a lot of artists try to honor their uniqueness, but very few are as successful as someone like Feist. And, you know,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like going off of that, even if kind of recalling what we were just saying, you know, even if you were to lose like the song that you got like beamed to you were to move on to a different songwriter, like they're going to interpret that a different way.
Oh, totally.
Than you would. So like, you know, somebody else's gas station synth folk record is going to be drastically different than yours.
Right.
Even if it's the similar idea.
Yeah.
So I think that, keeping like a real honesty to yourself when you're creating is a big deal. And I think that she does a great job with that. Yeah,
it is like, it's interesting. The honesty, and it's not just like, I think there's a temptation for people like you and I who are lyric writers to assume that has to do with the story you're telling in your song. Mm-hmm. But I think it also has to do with what sonic landscape appeals to you.
Yeah, certainly.
Alone. Yeah. Like, what do you like? Like, what is this? What how does this make you feel good? Like we talked about with the White Stripes. I mean, limiting your sonic palette to instruments made before 1970 that's an acquired taste. I mean, a lot of people like it, but you know what I mean? Not everyone. Yeah. And that's a choice you're making, to be true to whatever preferences you have, you know, and that's super important. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want to keep you for the whole day, but I do generally do a bit of a ranking thing. So if you had to rank, there's only, I think, like 5 Feist albums.
Right.
Well, how would you rank them?
So it's interesting. I have to put the reminder on at number 1, or are we going from 5 to
whatever way you want? We can start. We can start at 1.
We'll start at 1. So and this is all to be said that even the Feist record that has moved me the least is still an incredible record.
Yes.
Certainly. You know,
there's not a bad one.
There isn't a bad one, but I would have to say I mean, it's interesting. There's different metrics because I kind of view metals as a dividing line. So the Reminders, I think, is just a generationally important record and is basically flawless. Let It Die is just, it's her introduction. But it's beautiful and eclectic. And after that, I would have to say, like, I am a big fan of the moodiness of Pleasures.
Yeah, Pleasure's really good.
Especially the opening track, which I think is Pleasures.
Yep.
The like the middle minute of that song is incredible.
It's unreal.
Then I would probably go. It's tough. I don't know. I guess I would go Metals maybe, but that's probably just born out of familiarity.
Sure.
Because Multitudes, then I guess I would put Multitudes last, but I hate doing that.
Yeah. Again, there's not a bad one.
No. And like Enlightening is probably one of my favorite Feist songs. So, and a lot of this might be born out of familiarity,
Sure.
and like where you were when you listened to the records.
I mean, I feel like that's normal.
Yeah.
Like my favorite Beatles album is Abbey Road, but it doesn't mean it's probably the best one.
Sure.
Because people are like, but what about Revolver? And I'm like, yeah, Revolver's got Here, There, and Everywhere. That's
right.
It's a great record, but
right.
I like Abbey Road more because of where I was when I heard it.
Right. Yeah.
And like fell in love with it. So
right.
like I attached that meaning to it.
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually why Metals is probably my favorite Feist
Interesting.
Record.
That's awesome.
It's where I was at the time.
Right. Yeah. And
like,
the reminder for me was like, there was like an optimism about that time, social media hadn't come in quite yet in the way at least the way it is now. And, it was the beginning of the Obama administration and or maybe not quite, but almost.
It was 2007 where we had a future and there was nothing bad financially that would happen.
No, we gotten over that already. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no, we were just about to get it.
It was just about to happen.
Oh, whoops. So maybe it was.
But it was an optimism, but it hadn't happened yet. So there was there was still a glimmer of optimism.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an optimistic time for me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, awesome. I think on that note, it's a good point to stop. But Ben, thanks again for being on the show. And
thank you.
Super excited for the record. And when is it coming out, by the way?
The Friday before the holiday weekend. What date is that? I should know these things.
23rd.
23rd. Yeah, the 23rd.
Week before mine.
The week before yours.
Look at us. Look at us.
Look at us. We're at least doing new stuff. Yeah, the 23rd. And it's, there's already a couple songs out right now everywhere. So you can go find those if you're so inclined.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ben.
Yes. This was awesome.
So fun.